At the age of 16, I met my wife, Rosie. A year later, in '97, we had our son, Jorge, so we were really, really young parents. I just didn't know how to cope with, being a dad and everything, so I kind of ran from it, started hanging out with the wrong crowd. Eventually, it got worse and worse. I started to not come home at all. I started not showing up at home, and she would just worry a lot. After that, it was another, at least after she got saved, 6 to 7 years. And so she was just, when she got saved, she thought that, that things were going to be awesome and that life was going to change and that God was going to turn things around, but the opposite happened. And this went on for a long time. And I remember coming home like on a Sunday night or early Monday and getting home, and I would just hear and see my wife in the back porch. They're screaming at God and crying to God and asking God, why is it that I'm such a bad person? Why is it that she suffers so much? If she loves him, why is it that her life won't change? And why is it that he's not doing something about it? And she was at the very end, she was already talking about separation. Throughout all these years, one of the things that my wife and I did was we kept a tradition. And so we would go to family camp every single year on Labor Day weekend, the first weekend of September. And there's this church service, and I was way in the back. I wasn't into the service at all, but I still had kind of the alcohol and the drug in my system, so it was I was not there so much. And so that service went on for about 3 hours. It was a Latin service, so they know how to go long. So then after that, she says, okay. So I said, all right, time to go. She says, no, we have to stay for the youth service too. I said, no way. So we stayed for the youth service, and that went for about 2 hours. And this was just like crazy because I was in the back. I was just dying. I was kind of asleep, kind of not there, kind of zombie. And so they finally get through the 2 hours, and at the end of the sermon, they have a time of worship and altar call. So my wife was always the first one to run to the altar and just start crying to God and asking God to do something special, to perform a miracle in her life. And so, as always, she was at the altar and she was telling God that she'd already contacted an attorney, that they're gonna, move forward with a divorce and she can't do it no more. But at the same time, she was still believing God and being hopeful, telling God that I know that you can do something. So she was bare before God, and God heard her cry. I remember right at that moment that one of my cousins was up on stage leading worship, and she was singing this song, "Open the floodgates of heaven and let it rain." And that's how it felt. It felt like it was raining on me, and I just felt something just coming down on me, and that was God. He was actually just answering my wife's cry and answering her call, and I was nothing more than the recipient of a faithful woman finally getting blessed. I have not been the same. The Lord touched me miraculously. He changed my life. Absolute radical transformation that was immediate. And the beautiful part about it is that I'll never be able to take credit for it. He saved me because of this faithful soldier called Rosie.